Well, yes, indeed, that's what we start our conversation today on the program. We're joined by Mr. Paul Arkwright, who is the British High Commissioner to Nigeria. Good morning, and thank you for joining us today. Well, yes, indeed, some reasons may have been highlighted in that report, but many still don't understand why did Britain leave?
Well, I think the first thing to say is that this was a massive exercise in democracy. Over 33 million people voted in the referendum. That was over 70% of those who were registered to vote. That's a very significant number. And the outcome was pretty clear. 52% voted to leave the European Union, 48% voted to remain. I think different people had different reasons for voting to leave. A number of them were set out in the report which you've just highlighted there. I think a lot of the people who voted to leave felt that too much sovereignty had been conceded to Brussels, to Europe, to the European institutions. There was a concern around control of the borders. Certainly immigration was one of the big issues which came up. And I think there were other reasons as well that people voted to leave. But that was the outcome. And as the Prime Minister said, that's a very clear instruction to the British government, and an instruction which that British government will carry out. And like any good civil servant, that's part of my job as well.
Well, as it is now, there's so many voices concerning how to move forward from there, having had that historic referendum. But for those who keep arguing that, look, they think it was a mistake, do you think they have a point?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch the last bit. They thought it was a mistake?
Yes. Do you think they have a point when they keep arguing that, look, they still think it's a mistake, Britain should not have left?
Well, I might have my personal view. I think the outcome was clear. I don't think there will be a second referendum. This is a once-in-a-generation opportunity for the UK to vote on this huge issue. It's very important. Lots of people are saying it was a mistake, but those are the ones, obviously, part of the 48% who voted to remain in the UK. I think we need to look forward. We need to see what happens next. We need to work out the complicated negotiations which will involve, if you like, a divorce settlement between the United Kingdom and the European Union. We need a new Prime Minister. As you know, Prime Minister Cameron has resigned. And he will stay on until October, when he says there should be a new Prime Minister in charge in the UK. Once that Prime Minister is in place, then the process will start. And the button, if you like, the button will be pressed, and a procedure known as Article 50 will kick into place. So that's the way it is going. The fundamentals of the UK are still there. The economy is still strong. We're still very much an international player. A permanent member of the Security Council, in the Commonwealth, the G7, the G20, lots of other international organisations. So I don't think that the standing of the UK has been diminished by this vote. I think it shows that we are an independent nation, and that is the choice of the people.
Now let's look at some of the fears of some people. Once Article 50 is triggered, what then happens to everyone residing, working, and even studying in the UK?
Yes, well, Article 50 will trigger a process which will last 2 years, or could last up to 2 years. For the whole of that time, in other words, from now until the end of that process, and that process, as I said, has not yet been triggered, then there will be a further 2 years once the process has been triggered. For the whole of that time, there will be no change. We will remain a member of the European Union. All the rights and obligations of the UK as a member state of the European Union will remain. All those who have a right to live and work and study in the UK will remain. But of course, what happens after that 2-year period will very much depend on the type of relationship, the kind of negotiation and the outcome of those negotiations, which will obviously take place in the next 2 years. So it's very difficult for me to say now what exactly will happen in 2 years' time, but certainly until that point, nothing has changed.
You know, talking about business, for some others who do business, even in Europe and from Nigeria, they think that the EU gave the UK that status of being the world financial center. What then happens? Will this also affect the businesses that people do with the United Kingdom, like those in Europe and even in Nigeria?
Well, certainly there's been volatility in the markets. That's clear. There's been a big impact on sterling, pound sterling. But I've also been noticing that businesses are saying we carry on. Certainly, as I said, for the next 2 years, there is no question that anything will change as far as business is concerned. There will be continuing strength of the British economy, plenty of good reasons why businesses should continue to work, to thrive, to employ people in the UK. And of course those relationships that I talked about, the key relationship of the trade relationship, the market relationship with the European Union, will need to be worked out in the next 2 years. So I think sensible businesses are waiting to see what will happen and not taking any rushed decisions, are making their views clear, which of course is their right. But the fundamentals of the British economy are still there. And this government has worked hard to produce an economy which is thriving, which is doing well. And that's what business needs. So my message to business is clear. You can continue to do business in the UK. We're very conscious of the need to look after businesses, including Nigerian businesses and people who are working, Nigerians who are working in the UK, in the financial sector as in other sectors. And that will continue. And then we'll see what kind of relationship there is with business after that.
So what do you say to your other sovereign trading partners?
Do you mean that outside the European Union?
Yes.
I say the same thing, really. The message is clear that Britain remains open for business. That there are still great opportunities for doing business in the UK. Plenty of Nigerians have prospered, have thrived doing business with and in the UK. I want that to continue. As a British High Commissioner, obviously one of my jobs is to ensure that business does well in the UK and that the British government will maintain the excellent conditions, the excellent business environment which has enabled businesses to do so well so far in the UK. I don't see any of that changing. So other partners, other trading partners outside the European Union will continue to benefit from all the conditions in the business environment which has made London and indeed the UK such a successful place to invest in.
For some people, the fact that immigration, constituted a major part of how the vote eventually went, seems to send a deeper message that the United Kingdom was not exactly willing to accept newcomers or immigrants into its borders. How do you douse those kinds of fears?
Well, certainly immigration, I won't deny it. Immigration was very much one of the central themes of the debate, of the discussion. It was a very lively debate, which I know was followed closely here in Nigeria. People were concerned, as I said at the beginning, people were concerned that they had lost control, or the government had lost control of the immigration flows coming into the UK. That was one of the reasons why the outcome turned out as it did. But Britain remains and has always been, in my view, and certainly as somebody who's lived a long time in London, a very open society, a place where people are welcomed, and Nigerians, alongside other nationalities, are just as welcome in the UK as they were before. I don't see that this will result in a massive cut in immigration. But clearly that will be on the agenda of the new Prime Minister and the government that Prime Minister will appoint. And we'll see what rules, regulations, if there are any changes, will come out of that. But the fundamental fact is that the UK is an open society, is a society which does welcome foreigners, which does welcome people of other nationalities. And I don't see those fundamentals changing.
All right, well, we'll take a quick break and then we'll be back and take a further look at how will this affect both countries, Nigeria and Britain. Join us again.